Hey guys, Kyle here. Been a little while. I had a lot of chaos happen the last few days, but thus we are here. I wanted to try to do these weekly, but I mean, sometimes stuff happens, right? So, we are in volume 7. I hope all has been well. We are now starting it, starting with chapter 54 actually, and we see that Sanji's kicks are quite powerful, and he was able to knock one of these like metal fish gunship thing. I don't know. We see that Sanji's kicks like literally knocked it. So I'm wondering if Zev taught Sanji how to fight. I mean, they are fighting cooks, right? So I guess it only makes sense. Am I right? So yeah, volume 7 is starting off pretty interesting. We get to learn about Pearl the Invincible. So pretty interesting character going into that. We see that I believe his name was I don't remember his name. Patty, right? We see that he was fired at over 300 different restaurants. I thought that was pretty funny. And he and what was the other dude's name? Shoot, I don't freaking remember on the top of my head. Damn. See, I'm not very good at taking in information. I noticed, but it's like it'd be like that. So, chapter 54 was pretty decent. We learned a little bit about Pearl the Invincible, how he's never been scratched or hurt, and over I believe it was 61 duels, if I recall, after reading the chapter. Um, I think it's pretty interesting because this character really makes me think of a Disney character. Something from like The Little Mermaid or something. I'm like trying to go off on the top of my head, but yeah, Pearl the Invincible was a pretty goofy character. Um, I'd say the chapter was fairly decent. There was a pretty cool moment with Don Craig where he's swinging a flail, I believe is what they're called. It's like a ball and chain. Reminds me of the weapon from Ratchet Deadlock, if anybody has played that game. And he swings it, and it's pretty cool. I actually don't remember that at all. So far, Volume 7 is okay. We're only in one chapter so far, but you know what? I'm going to be honest. I'm really enjoying the Baratier arc so far. Last week was such a high ball with Hawkeye, Mihawk, and Zoro's duel and stuff. So, if you guys want to hear more and want to keep these videos going and support me, well, subscribe. That would be great. I want to try to hit at least 100 subscribers before the end of the year. And if you guys want these videos to come out faster, well, support it. So thank you, and we'll see you guys in chapter 55. So chapter 55 begins, right, and we see Luffy falling with his during his fight with Don Craig. He falls and hits and like lands right on top of Pearl. And I thought it was funny that he draws blood and he throws like this like tantrum. I was gonna say rampage, but I think it's more of a tantrum. And he throws this like fit or whatever, and he creates this like big bonfire on the ship where all the fighting cooks are. And we see that Sanji's like immune to fire. And what's funny is reading this again really reminded me of the part in Enies Lobby where he learns, Diablo Jambe. So that's a bit of a spoiler for, the new people here. But if you've never read One Piece and you're new to the series and you're watching this, oops. Just know that there is going to be some spoilers, and I'm going to be talking about some cool foreshadowing. I don't know if that's foreshadowing or not, but that would be really crazy if it is. So I'm having fun doing a retrospective of One Piece, and so far the Baratier arc has definitely aged fairly well so far. The introduction to Mihawk last week in Volume 6 was freaking amazing. Like, holy crap. I thought that was really well done. But, I mean, this is cool, and Pearl's kind of a scrub. I feel like he's kind of a joke character. Like, I don't know. He's pretty weak. Like even Zeph like kicks away his flaming pearls with one broken peg leg. So, that happened. So yeah. Overall, good chapter. I enjoyed it. I think my favorite moment is Sanji just like, I don't know, casually just like repelling fire. I thought that was cool. He does have a cool line where he's like, I wouldn't be a very good cook if I was afraid of fire. With a Siggy. So yeah, I think that was a cool moment. I hope you guys enjoy, and feel free to tell me your favorite moments from these early chapters in the comments below. Appreciate you. And we'll go right into chapter 56. So we jump into chapter 50, I believe, 56. Oh my god, I'm almost losing count. And pretty good chapter, actually. I actually enjoyed this one a lot, believe it or not. We learn a lot of interesting stuff about Sanji and his past right now. I notice that we're kind of like diving way into it. So, it begins with Geen, if I'm saying his name right. He is holding Chef Zeph hostage with looks like a boomstick. So he broke his peg leg, right? And he's got him at freaking gunpoint. And he's threatening to blow his brains out. And that's kind of disturbing, right? Maybe, I hope I don't get censored for that. But he's got him basically on the ropes and got him by the balls. And we see that Sanji is ranting about how he took everything from Zeph and stuff like that. And the ship is his pride and joy and treasure, and pretty deep. We really see that Sanji is really kind of like coming out and really spilling it, and he's you can tell that there's a real father son dynamic here, and it's great. I feel like Oda's storytelling is just top notch, and I feel like the last volume 6 was where I feel like he's really showing how great of a story and grand it's going to be. And now, we're kind of going in and we learn about Zeph's, past and Sanji's past, and it kind of dives deep into that. And Pearl basically jumps Sanji in the middle of him talking about how amazing and how the ship is his pride and joy, and Pearl like kind of jumps in and like drills him with his oh shoot, I don't remember the name of the move. I'll post it. But yeah, not hits him pretty hard, right? And it's pretty interesting because it's like I noticed that Sanji's very tanky, and and I've watched the Wano arc, and I'm up almost up to date. Not really. I'm probably like quite a ways behind now. But the last chapter I read was Roof Piece was probably the last one I read, and that was a while ago. Whenever that came out. I honestly got into other stuff and streaming and stuff like that. But yeah, I noticed there's a lot of foreshadowing about Sanji and what he is and stuff like that. So reading this and getting the full retrospective for this, it really goes and put into perspective just how grand and how far Oda really planned these characters. And I see that Sanji can tank. Like, he's very tanky. Maybe Pearl's obviously a pretty weak character, compared to what we get later in the series, but they're hinting at it, right? Like you can really tell when you reread these chapters that Sanji isn't really a human per se. So anyway, we go in, to Sanji's past, and we see that he's kind of wasting food a lot, and obviously I know it's coming, but it's pretty interesting how the head chef on this ship that Sanji's on at this particular moment is saying, "You're at sea. You never know, what could happen tomorrow." And I thought that was really cool, how they're doing all this like foreshadowing, and they're really doing this really good build up. So yeah, chapter 56 is pretty solid. I'm enjoying it. Volume 7 is aging fairly well. If this covers what I think it covers, yes, this volume has aged very well. Volume 6 is the best volume from these early stages so far. Volume 6 was. So we'll see where Volume 7 matches up. So I'll see you guys in the next chapter. So, now that we're on chapter 57, wow, I forgot how gruesome this actually was. Been a minute since I've read this chapter and watched the anime for this. I'm pretty sure they changed it in the anime, if I remember right. But anyway, very good chapter, and holy shnikes, that was a good one. So, it begins right away where we left off, and wow. Trying to get my bearings straight after reading this again, because it was a good chapter. It was a really, really good chapter, actually. So, we learn about the All Blue in this chapter, actually. Sanji's dream. He wants to find the All Blue. And we also see that Sanji takes. What's that word I'm looking for? He takes over and he decides to fend off the pirates. If that makes sense. I don't know why my brain stopped working for a minute there. Mouse got tired in the wheel. But yes, he decides to fend off and fight the pirates that are invading the ship. Which we see that it's actually Red Shoes Zeph is who is attacking the ship. And we see that he gets mad at his own crewmates for eating other people's food, which is interesting. So now we kind of learn where Sanji gets the whole fending off Luffy from the kitchen. Now we get where he gets it from. He learned it from Zeph, because Zeph is like Sanji's father figure, and I kind of saw that coming. But yes, we go into that, and we see that Sanji falls overboard, and that Zeph actually kicks the ship mast and jumps into the ocean to go save Sanji. Pretty intense. Really intense that he would go out of his way to go save Sanji like that. And I have to say, that's strange, but I think it's because Sanji's dream is the All Blue, which is the same as Zeph. I believe is what they're hinting at. Not sure though, but yeah, they end up on this, I believe, rock in the middle of frickin' Narnia. So they have to split the food evenly. And Zeph gives Sanji enough food for about 5 days. But if he's smart, they can stretch it to, I believe, like a little bit longer, maybe a couple weeks, if they're smart about it. And we see that Zeph actually takes a rock and chops his own freaking leg off. I was like, damn. I gotta say though, the atmosphere in this chapter is like perfect. I really feel isolated and deserted, and I really feel like I'm in the middle of nowhere when I'm reading this part of the chapter. Like, pretty intense, actually. I can't even imagine what this would be like. Like, I literally cannot imagine. Like, it's actually really freaky. Like, putting yourself out there. It really makes me think, and reminds me of the movie Castaway with oh shoot, man, I can't think today. But yeah, it made me think of the movie Castaway, and if you've ever seen that, that's kind of what this chapter reminds me of. Anyway, very good chapter. Very enjoyed this. Awesome. I can't wait to keep it going. So carry on, my wayward son. So we jump into chapter 58, and I have to say, wow, what what did I just read? That was amazing and generally disturbing at the same time. So we see that they survived 85 days on this rock in the middle of the ocean. And I can't help but have some chills saying that, because that was generally dark. So if anyone says One Piece isn't a dark series, well, have them read this. So kind of in shock, really. So we basically learn that Zeph indeed ate his foot and survived 85 days on this rock and gave Sanji all the food. And Sanji thought he had all the food, so that was intense. And I don't remember it being that dark. I'm gonna be honest. I actually didn't remember that. So reading this again, I have to say, wow, that was solid chapter. Damn. I don't know if it's as good as Volume 6, but man, it you feel it in the heart, in the heartstrings, and we see that Sanji makes a stand against Pearl and the Crate Pirates, that he'll defend him with his life for saving his. And the reason Zeph did save Sanji is because he does have the same dream. And Zeph says, how many people has the ocean swallowed? He's like, if only there was a damn restaurant. And so he says, with his last wish and last bit of energy he has remaining, he says that he wants to build a restaurant on the ocean. So I gotta say, wow, 10 out of 10 chapter, amazing. And I just don't remember it being that dark. So yeah, favorite moment of the chapter, shoot, I think it's the fact that we really get to dive deep into Oda's ability to write a good character, because he's very, very good at writing good characters. And Zeph as a character is a very fascinating one, because we don't really know that much about him. We just know that he gathered a crew, and they didn't have the same dreams as him, but they were a good bunch. And he sailed the seas and tried to find the All Blue, and he didn't find it. So, and he heard, Sanji have the same dream as him, so he figured that he would save him and build a restaurant. And, I think that was probably my favorite moment, is that it's just that. I think, that's it. So, if you guys want to share your favorite moments from these early chapters, feel free to comment down below and let me know what your favorite moments are. And yeah, that was amazing. Wow. I don't even know what else to say. So, let's carry on, shall we? So we're in chapter 59 now, and I have to say, pretty damn good chapter. I wouldn't say it's as good as the previous two, but you know what? It is a solid one at that. So, we learned a little bit more about Sanji and his will to protect the ship and Zeph's treasure. And I think, honestly, my favorite part of chapter 59 was Luffy grabbing Sanji and screaming at him. He's like, the old man didn't save you so you could pay off the debt. He saved you so you could live your life. I thought that was really great, and that only a coward and an idiot would do that. So I think that was probably my favorite part of the entire chapter. Notable moments. I thought it was pretty cool that Geen whacked Pearl and knocked him out and basically one-shot him. Like, dude, Pearl must be a scrub. Like, whoa. And it was pretty interesting that the person that beats Pearl is actually his own crew member. Pretty funny. Geen steps up and decides to fight Sanji, so that was pretty cool how that kind of interaction went. Another notable moment was Luffy actually battle axing using his gum power and not, destroying the deck of the ship. basically. So there's no prize or any notable thing. Pretty funny that Luffy says he wants to destroy the ship. So the Don Craig pirates have like no treasure. If they win, they can't like leave with the ship. So yeah, chapter 59 was pretty damn good. I enjoyed it for what it was. There's some pretty good moments in there, and yeah, let me know your favorite moments below. And if you like this content, please support it with a like and a subscribe. I hope we can reach 100 by the end of the month. That would be amazing if we could actually get that far. And if this video does extremely well, I will pump out more reviews. So thank you, and we'll go into chapter 60. So we fly right into chapter 60, right? And I honestly think Don Craig is actually a pretty underrated villain. Reading this again, I think it's cool that he has so many weapons in stuff. I think that's really fun. Like, he threatens Luffy and says he's gonna shoot a poison gas attack, and he fires a fake out, and it turns into just be a bunch of shurikens. So I thought that was pretty creative. Definitely an underrated villain. I think he's kind of cool because he's like this overconfident badass. Like, he comes off at like an overconfident badass. But like, I love the idea that you have this character that has all these different weapons, and he can't beat Luffy. But looking at pre-time skip again and reading these chapters again, and for retrospective, Don Craig is actually a lot stronger than I remember him being. Like, sure, but like, Luffy is made of rubber and has a devil fruit, and we find out how powerful his devil fruit actually gets later in the series. But if you think about it, this fight is pretty even. Like, sure, Craig is gonna lose, but like, think about that for a minute. Like, even Geen basically shits on Sanji in this duel. Like, he literally has the upper hand. I think that's really cool how we get to see how powerful some of these pirate crew captains are. And I just think it's fun that Craig is showing that he will stop at like nothing to achieve and be Pirate King, and that he has an insane arsenal of weapons and artillery. Pretty cool. He's literally built for war, and I think that was pretty fun how you get to see in all these different characters and villains, and Oda's way of foreshadowing all this stuff is pretty amazing. I feel like Don Craig is a great foreshadowing to what kind of villains we're gonna get in the future in the series. Interesting enough, Don Craig and Crocodile, who we'll get to later on, they're kind of similar in a way, because Don Craig has all these weapons, and spoiler, Crocodile wants to use an ancient weapon. Pretty interesting how the way they view power and strength as weapons and artillery, and all these very interesting creative ways where Don Craig will steal a ship that looks like a restaurant just to get an upper hand, right? Like, it's pretty unique and tactical, and damn, I have to say, pretty cool that Oda's able to successfully write a fun villain like Don Craig. Underrated. I think he's underrated. Reading this again, I have to say he's very underrated. He's a hell of a lot more interesting than Captain Kuro, I'll be honest. Don Craig's definitely a step up. So let's finish this volume out, guys. So before chapter 61 begins, I just figured I would mention that we actually get the first popularity poll for One Piece, actually. And we see that it's actually a pretty close popularity poll, with Luffy being first at 8,055 votes and Zoro at 7,260. Pretty close, actually. And we see red-haired Shanks is actually at 5,800. So yeah, I mean, it was a pretty close popularity poll. pretty good. I honestly, I know Luffy's the main character, right? But this is a hot take. I don't think Luffy's really that great. He's probably one of my least favorite characters in One Piece, funny enough. Azora will always be my favorite just because I love his loyalty and the way he is towards his captain. I think that's very admirable and really inspiring that he is the pinnacle of strength, right? And I'm sure people have made videos on that already, but yeah, I mean his entire character arc is probably one of my favorite in comics in general. you know, Definitely up there with like Guts from Berserk and Yusuke from Yu Yu Hakusho and Killua from Hunter x Hunter and so many other series. He's definitely on the Mount Rushmore for anime and manga and fictional characters. But anyway, going into chapter 61, I actually kind of enjoyed this one a lot more than the previous chapter because we see Sanji is literally getting his ass handed to him by Gin. And Gin's got some cool clubs. Those things are pretty cool looking. And he just gets whacked and whacked. And everyone makes note that it's amazing and a miracle that Sanji can even stand from all the beatings he's taken. He's probably broken almost every rib in his body. And I thought that was pretty cool that Patty and some of the side characters make note of that. And we see that Gin can't bring himself to kill Sanji because Sanji is the only person his entire life that has shown any ounce of kindness towards him. So, just goes to show, guys, moral of the story is, put a smile on and smile and wave because you never know what the guy you meet is going through. So, I think that's kind of like the moral of the story right there. And we see that Luffy is fighting Don Krieg, and Krieg is just messing with him. Luffy's trying to run across the ship mass to go fight Krieg, but Krieg pulls out all these like crazy weapons and arsenal and shoots a bunch of stakes at Luffy. Like, not steaks, not the food steaks, but like stakes, right? Just kind of. It's almost like he has like a machine gun. Like, okay, I know One Piece takes place in like the 1700s, but there are weapons in the series that are very 1960s and 70s. Because to my knowledge, it looks like a freaking M60 or like a Browning, right? It looks like a aircraft carrier weapon, kind of. And he's got like a shield on it and everything. I don't know. Clearly, like One Piece doesn't actually take place in the 1600s. Clearly, it's like a mashup of like modern weapons with a pirate feel, because there's just no way. Anyway, it's an anime. I'm thinking too deep into it, but yeah, great chapter. I really liked the dynamic with Gin and Sanji. How he can't bring himself to kill him. I think that's probably my favorite part of the chapter is seeing that Gin can't bring himself to hurt Sanji. Kind of reminds me of this random spooky horror video I listened to the other night. I usually fall asleep to like stuff like that, and I remember listening to a hitchhiker story. I don't remember which one it was, but yeah, it reminded me of a spooky story. Anyway, moral of the story is that basically what happened is this girl picks up a hitchhiker and treats him to food and blah blah blah. Takes him to his destination. Turns out the person the girl picked up, the hitchhiker, ended up being a serial killer, and he couldn't bring himself to kill her. So and then I think it was like a couple weeks later, he calls her and leaves her a message. So don't ever pick up a hitchhiker again. Really, really great story. I don't remember where it was. Anyway, so yeah, it kind of reminded me of that. I don't know, a little morbid, but hey, you know what? Sometimes when you're doing a One Piece retrospective, you just feel it out. You just say it how it is and what you're feeling in the moment. So there's one more chapter left, guys, of volume 7, and I'll give the final verdict. So the final chapter, right, of volume 7 begins, and we see that Gin has Sanji by the throat, and we see that he wants Craig to let the ship go if there's any possible way, because he can't bring himself to kill Sanji. And Craig is, he's pretty upset. So he fires the MH5 poison gas, and he just launches it right at the restaurant. Pretty dark, this seems like a very dangerous poison gas. It kind of reminds me of those like really creepy creepy pastas for some reason. I don't know why I'm remembering creepy pastas right now reading this, but when I hear the MH5, it makes me think of the Russian Sleep Project for some. I don't know why. So I'm assuming the MH5 is a very violent gas attack. And we see that Gin throws his mask away, and Luffy picks it up and puts it on, and presumably, Gin's probably dead, or he's on life alert at this point. So, yeah, Craig is crazy, actually crazy, and again, I think he's an underrated villain. I like villains that are very like all over the place and insane, and we see that Don Craig has lost his mind and truly will do anything and whatever it takes to secure a victory. And if it means launching toxic gas and cheesing his way to victory, he'll do it. Pretty inspiring and disturbing at the same time. I can't see myself wanting to do something that violent, but I respect the aspect of wanting and willing to do anything, and that's kind of like where Gin is at. Is he kind of follows the wrong man and respects the wrong person. I feel like we've all kind of been there in our lives, right? Like if we throw ourselves back, think about the person that you admired when you were a kid. Me, there's a few people, I really inspired to be like my father, but my dad was like almost really never around, right? But he was so fun and stuff like that. So when he was around, he was like the life of the party, but because he was never really in my life much, it kind of sucked, right? But the other person would be like my mom, because my mom is, super outgoing, and, she's the only one that really shows that she cares, right? And and I had some childhood friends, and there was my next door neighbor, and she was pretty amazing. I remember she was super talented at games, and she was really good at them, right? And I wanted to get really good at games. Thus, I think my passion for gaming was born off that. It was definitely a push. And I kind of see where Gin is coming from in the story, where he admires Gin, right? Or he admires Don Craig. Gin does, and I'm thinking. I kind of get it, right? I understand where he's coming from in that aspect, and what sucked is, I wanted to be like these people in my life, but those people were just toxic and really terrible people. But when we're kids like that, we don't know. I mean, we were all kids, but it sucks because she made me want to be a better person and conquer my fears, because it seemed like she was never scared of anything when we were kids. I was scared of everything when I was a kid. This is back when I was like 5, 6, 7 years old. I think, no, I was 7. I was probably 7. This is probably early 2001, so I was probably like 7. So yeah, I enjoyed volume 7, and I think it was a solid. I give it an 8 out of 10. There were some kind of like chapters in here, But then the chapters that hit, they were freaking home runs. So I think you guys should definitely check this one out. I think volume 6 is definitely the best place to start if you were to do a throwback and you were to reread this. I would reread volume 6 and 7. I think those are a good starting point. Volume 1 is decent. I think chapter 1 is a 10 out of 10. Then skip to volume 6 and reread 6 and 7. I think that's a good starting point. Read chapter 1, then go to 6 and 7 volume. So, yeah, final verdict, solid entry. Definitely a step up from the volume 2, 3, and 4 and 5. Those were pretty snoozy. But yeah, definitely excited to do more. Please support this, guys, if you want more in the future and if you want them to come out faster. If this hits 100 views, I will start working on volume 8 sooner. So thank you, and you guys all have a great day and have a good one. See you next time.